Welcome to another mind-blowing episode of our movie. Trust me, you will love this one. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe at the end of the movie. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Thank you. The story begins with Friday, the gateman, welcoming Kentura and her family. Kentura's dad receives a call and asks about the king's whereabouts, informing them that he has just landed in the village. Kentura complains and asks her dad why they are spending the holiday in the village instead of abroad. Her mom replies, saying her dad has a reason for bringing them here so they can spend time together. Kentura says she has no network and can't live stream. Her dad shouts at her and tells her mom to talk some sense into her. Then they go upstairs. Nelly and her blind mom walk through the gate, and Nelly directs her mom to sit. Nelly's mom says she is worried that she might not see again. Nelly assures her that after she takes her medications, they will go to the hospital for a test. Then, Nelly takes her mom inside. The prince and the king arrive at the palace and are welcomed. The king says it's good to see them and thanks them for holding things up in the palace. A maid named Chaka comes to specially greet the king and touches him in a romantic way. The queen gets angry and leaves. King Lugo walks into the room and asks Queen Jemima what all that was about, and she responds, telling him to tell her. King Lugo then says she has always known that he would be king one day when he married her, so why is she acting irritated? Queen Jemima hisses and walks out. Meanwhile, Chaka walks in with a bowl of water, greets King Lugo, and starts massaging his legs. King Lugo then says he almost forgot how this felt, and Chaka says she can gladly do it for him every day. King Lugo thanks her. Queen Jemima walks in on them, gets angry, and storms out. Shadrach tells Prince Ben that he is happy to be here for his father's coronation. Prince Ben says he doesn't fancy all of this. The clothes, parades, and paparazzi are not his thing. Then Shadrach tells him that he can borrow the clothes anytime he wants them. And Ben says yes, he can. Shadrach warns him not to go back on his word when it's time to use them. Nelly and her mom are at the hospital, and the doctor says she needs a cornea transplant. Nelly tells the doctor that he said her eyes would be fine after the medication. So why the transplant? The doctor then tells her that the corneas in both eyes are damaged and are stopping light from entering her eyes. He says her eyes are healed, but she has to undergo a transplant. The doctor mentions that for a successful transplant, it will cost around 6 to 10 million naira. Nelly's mom starts crying, saying that she won't be able to see if the transplant doesn't occur and asking where she would get that amount of money from. Nelly calms her mom down and tells her that they will raise the money. Prince Ben walks into his mom's room and greets her. He asks how she is, and she says she doesn't know how she feels. Prince Ben then asks his mom if he and Shadrach can go outside the palace and take a stroll. Queen Jemima says they can, but they have to go out with the driver and some bodyguards. Prince Ben tells her that it's not needed. Queen Jemima agrees and tells them to dress casually because of who they are. Meanwhile, King Lugo and Queen Jemima are having a meal, and she asks Chaka to get her a bowl of water to wash her hands. Chaka orders another maid to do it instead. Queen Jemima is displeased and tells Chaka that she ordered her, not someone else. Then Chaka goes to get it. Nelly and her mother are walking by the roadside when her mom falls to the ground. Prince Ben and Shadrach rush over to help her up. Ben asks if she is okay, and Nelly says yes, she just missed her step, and they leave. Kentura and her family are about to leave for the palace when Kentura complains about her outfit. Her mom tells her to quickly go upstairs and change into something more comfortable. Nelly comes home and tells her mom that she has found a job to help take care of them. Her mom tells her that she isn't supposed to be working. Instead, she should be studying for her upcoming exam. Nelly reassures her mom that she is studying, but insists she needs the job to raise money for her surgery. Her mom responds that she isn't invalid and can still work, adding that when school resumes, she can continue working. She explains that she doesn't need her eyes to teach, she just needs her students to listen. Nelly says she will work and mentions that she called her Uncle James to help them. Her mom tells her that her uncle has no money since his company went under. Ever since, his wife has been supporting the family, and it was kind enough of him to let them collect rent from the farmland that should have been his own. Kentura and her mom arrive at the palace and meet Queen Jemima. Queen Jemima greets them and invites them to sit. Kentura compliments Queen Jemima on her beauty and the magnificence of the palace. Queen Jemima responds that if Kentura loves it, she can visit whenever she wants. Kentura's mom asks Queen Jemima about her son, who is about the same age as her daughter. Queen Jemima then asks a maid to call Prince Ben. Ben tells Shadrach to pretend to be him and go downstairs, but Shadrach refuses, saying it's not right. Ben insists, reminding Shadrach that he is his cousin and that his mom would approve. Shadrach reluctantly agrees, but warns that if anything goes wrong, he'll be blamed for it. Shadrach goes downstairs as Ben introduces himself to Kentura and her mom. Queen Jemima is surprised and makes an excuse to leave. Kentura's mom, excited, also makes an excuse and leaves Shadrach and Kentura alone. Kentura later tells her mom all about her meeting with Shadrach. Her mom, excited as usual, asks Kentura if the prince has a girlfriend. She reminds Kentura that royals often marry early, mentioning that the current king married at 19. Kentura's mom advises her to find her way around the prince, suggesting she could be the next queen. Overjoyed, Kentura hugs her mom and thanks her. Chaka meets with Queen Jemima, who confronts her about her behavior in the palace. Queen Jemima reminds Chaka that King Lugo is her husband. Chaka retorts that now that he is king, he can marry as many wives as he wants. Queen Jemima asks what makes Chaka think she is worthy of becoming a queen. Chaka responds that since she knew the king first, she sees no reason why not, and then she leaves. Nelly goes to Kentura's house, but Kentura's mom yells at her, asking why she would sit on a couch that can buy her. She then calls Kentura and introduces Nelly as her maid. Queen Jemima begins packing, saying she wants to leave the palace. King Lugo enters and asks what she is doing. She explains that she is tired of the humiliation and cannot take it anymore, adding that he is the king and can marry as many wives as he wants. She reminds him that she was forced into the marriage at a young age and can't continue. King Lugo tells her they were both forced into the marriage, but it has been 30 years. So what now? He reminds her that she is the queen and can't make decisions like this without thinking. He tells her he will give her time to reconsider and leaves. Meanwhile, Abby, Kentura's mom, is going through her husband's belongings when he catches her. She accuses him of not being satisfied with her after all these years. She says that if he no longer wants the marriage, he should have told her instead of acting this way. Her husband shouts at her, warning her never to go through his things again, and then she leaves. Kentura throws clothes at Nelly while on a phone call, bragging about how she is dating the prince. When her mom walks in, she quickly ends the call. Kentura's mom scolds Nelly and tells her to leave. On her way out, Nelly bumps into Kentura's dad, who asks who she is. She replies that she is the new maid. Nelly helps her mom climb the door and directs her to the bench. Nelly tells her mom that she got some new clothes from her workplace. Her mom cries, lamenting that Nelly should be living like a princess, but is instead stuck in their current situation. She adds that if anyone had told her life would turn out this way, she wouldn't have believed it. Nelly reassures her mom, saying she is happy with her life and has no complaints. She then asks her mom if she is hungry. Kentura, Shadrach, and Ben walk together, waiting for Nelly. When Nelly arrives, Kentura scolds her and slaps her. Ben intervenes, saying it wasn't right and that Nelly is a human being. Kentura becomes angry, scolds Ben, and even tries to slap him, but Shadrach stops her. They leave shortly after. Later, Ben sees Nelly standing outside and asks why she's there. She replies that she's waiting for Kentura. Ben invites her to join them for lunch, but she refuses and asks if they can pack it for her instead. Ben goes to Kentura and Shadrach, pointing out that Nelly has been standing for over an hour. Kentura dismisses his concern, saying that Nelly is paid to stand, so it's none of his business. Ben protests, but Kentura scolds him again. Frustrated, Ben walks away. Ben brings Nelly into the palace and asks her to sit down. She refuses and asks if he isn't afraid of losing his job for acting so boldly. Ben insists, and she finally sits. Ben asks if working for Kentura is absolutely necessary, and she explains that she needs the money for her mother's surgery, which will cost over 10 million naira. Ben asks how much she earns, and she replies, 20,000 naira. Ben calculates that, at that rate, she would have to work for 41 years to cover the cost of the surgery. Meanwhile, at the poolside, Shadrach asks Kenturah if she has a boyfriend and suggests she should consider being his girlfriend. Ben visits his mother and asks how she's doing. He comments that his father is always busy, leaving her alone. She blames herself, saying she knew this day would come, but still chose to marry him. Ben reassures her, saying that if she hadn't, he wouldn't have been born. He then asks if the community has a welfare program for treating illnesses. When Queen Jemima asks why, Ben explains that he wants to help a friend. Queen Jemima calls Chaka and questions why her brother is in charge of the welfare program. Chaka replies that her father appointed him. Queen Jemima reveals that she checked the records and discovered that, under his leadership, no one has been helped, and the palace accounts are empty. They argue until Chaka retorts that being queen doesn't give Jemima the right to talk to her that way. Queen Jemima tries to slap her, but Chaka grabs her hand and warns that soon she won't be able to talk to her like that and go unpunished. Chaka then leaves. Nelly arrives late to work, and Abby scolds her. Nelly explains that her mother was sick and she had to take her to the hospital. Overhearing this, Kenturah's dad gives Nelly some money to help with her mother's treatment before leaving for work. However, Abby calls Nelly over and takes the money from her. At the palace, Nelly sits and cries. Ben finds her and asks if Kenturah scolded her. Nelly explains that her worry is about her mom. She mentions that she was supposed to pick her mom up from the hospital by 2 p.m., but it's already 4 p.m. Ben offers to pick her mom up if Nelly provides the address, assuring her that her mom will guide him home. Grateful, Nelly thanks him. Ben brings Nelly's mom home and stays with her until Nelly returns. Surprised to see Ben, Nelly thanks him and offers to walk him out. During their walk, Ben again asks if working for Kenturah is necessary. Nelly explains that she has to save not only for her mom's surgery, but also for school and her upcoming entrance exams. While they talk, Nelly slips and Ben catches her. Ben returns to his room, where Shadrach asks where he has been. Ben admits he was at Nelly's place. Shadrach teases him, saying Ben owes him for letting him use his title and for helping him find the love of his life. However, Shadrach warns that he doesn't want to get in trouble with Ben's father. Ben reassures him that nothing will happen. Shortly after, Ben is summoned by his father. The king asks Ben where he has been and why he's moving around the village without a guard. He also demands to know what's happening outside the palace. Ben responds that everything is fine and insists that no one knows he is the prince, so there's no issue. The king orders him not to leave the palace without bodyguards again, but Ben disagrees. Meanwhile, the palace maids gossip until Queen Jemima enters and orders them to call the driver. Rose, Nelly's mom, shares exciting news with her daughter about the queen's visit. She tells Nelly that the queen has decided to sponsor her eye treatment, meaning she doesn't have to work anymore. Doubtful, Nelly asks if her mother is sure. Rose produces an envelope containing information about her treatment, including access to any hospital of her choice. Overwhelmed with joy, Nelly hugs her mom tightly. Later, Ben speaks to his mother, Queen Jemima, and thanks her for helping Nelly. The queen notes how special Nelly must be to him for him to go to such lengths. Ben tries to downplay it, saying that Nelly is just a friend going through difficult times. Queen Jemima smiles and tells Ben he will make a great king one day. Ben scoffs, saying his father will rule forever, and that he doesn't even want to be king of the kingdom. Queen Jemima responds cryptically, saying that a lot will change after the coronation. She reveals that King Lugo is planning to make Chaka his second wife because she was his lover before their marriage. Ben is furious and insists that it will never happen. Queen Jemima pats him reassuringly before leaving. The next day, Ben and Nelly walk together. Nelly starts to ask if Ben had spoken to the queen on her behalf, but stops herself, assuming he couldn't have because he's just the prince's bodyguard. In the sitting room, Nelly tells Ben that the hospital has confirmed she is ready for surgery. Ben invites her to the coronation as his guest. He attempts to tell her something important, but is interrupted by Kenturah. Later, Shadrach asks Ben if he plans to tell Nelly the truth about being the prince. Ben admits he tried, but was interrupted by Kenturah. Meanwhile, Kenturah throws a tantrum. scattering her clothes everywhere because she can't decide what to wear for the coronation. Her mom walks in and promises to arrange something for her. On the day of the coronation, Chaka dresses elegantly, confident that she will soon be the next queen. She even promises to reward one of the maids for her help. At the same time, Queen Jemima gets ready, unaware of what is brewing. Kenturah discovers that Shadrach isn't the prince and informs her mother. Shadrach, accompanied by Nelly, walks in and tries to apologize to Kenturah, but she refuses to listen, screaming and shouting. Spotting Nelly in one of her dresses, Kenturah becomes enraged, accusing her of stealing and trying to rip the dress off her. Ben steps in, apologizing to Nelly for not telling her the truth sooner. He urges her to stay for the coronation, promising to have one of the maids arrange a new dress for her. Reluctantly, Nelly agrees. Nelly tries on the dress, and they head to the coronation. After the event, Ben takes Nelly home. She thanks him and comments on how kind his mother is. Ben replies that he's spoken a lot about her to Queen Jemima, which is why she was so welcoming. Nelly admits she still can't believe Ben is the prince. Ben reassures her, asking if it changes anything between them. Later that night, Chaka goes to the king's chamber and lies on his bed. Meanwhile, a maid brings Queen Jemima a report to review. Initially, the queen brushes it off, saying it can wait until morning, but the maid insists. Reluctantly, Queen Jemima reads it and is shocked by its contents. In the king's chamber, King Lugo enters and finds Chaka lying on his bed. She invites him to join her, but he questions her intentions. At that moment, Queen Jemima walks in, sees the scene, and storms out angrily. Abby searches frantically for her most expensive gold ring, scattering items all over the place in frustration. Meanwhile, Kenturah yells at Nelly, ordering her to stop doing chores and leave the house. When Kenturah's mom walks in to find out what's happening, Kenturah demands that Nelly be fired, accusing her of stealing her man. Nelly insists she won't leave until she receives her pay. Abby sides with Kenturah and tells Nelly to leave immediately. Later, as Kenturah and her parents sit in the living room, Nelly prepares to leave. Abby stops her at the door and insists on checking her bag, claiming she wants to find her missing ring. Upon searching, Abby finds the ring in Nelly's bag. Shocked, Nelly pleads her innocence, saying she has no idea how it got there. Meanwhile, Prince Ben arrives at Nelly's house to see her, only to learn she's at Kenturah's. He decides to accompany Nelly's mother, Rose, to Kenturah's house. At the palace, King Lugo summons Chaka and sternly warns her about the previous night, stating that he doesn't want such behavior repeated. Listening from a corner, Queen Jemima overhears their conversation. King Lugo tells Chaka he has a wife whom he loves and cherishes deeply. Chaka tries to appeal to him, insisting that she has loved him all her life, but the king stands firm, declaring that he is a one-woman man and asking her to leave. That evening, at Kenturah's house, Ben and Rose arrive to demand to see Nelly. Kenturah claims that Nelly stole something and that her father, Hyginus, is punishing her for it. Furious, Rose confronts Hyginus as he comes downstairs. To her shock, Hyginus reveals that this is his house. Rose, equally stunned, asks him to bring Nelly immediately. When Hyginus brings Nelly downstairs, Ben threatens him with legal consequences, saying he could be arrested. Hyginus defends himself, claiming he didn't know Nelly was his daughter. Rose interjects, saying that even if he didn't know, it doesn't justify his actions. Confused, Nelly asks why Hyginus keeps referring to her as his daughter. He reveals that she is, explaining that Rose left him when Nelly was only a year old. Rose recounts how Hyginus treated her poorly, which led her to leave, and how he married Abby to gain a chieftaincy title. Kenturah, shocked by the revelations, asks if she is truly Nelly's sister. Hyginus confirms that she isn't, leaving Kenturah heartbroken. She runs upstairs in tears. Abby then confesses that she framed Nelly for stealing the ring in an attempt to please her daughter. Disgusted, Rose, Nelly, and Ben leave the house together. Back at the palace, Queen Jemima lovingly walks into King Lugo's chamber with a bowl of water to wash his feet. Touched by the gesture, King Lugo kisses her hand, signaling a rekindled connection between the two. Later, Hyginus visits Nelly's house to ask for her forgiveness, acknowledging his wrongdoings. At the palace, Kenturah arrives seeking Prince Ben. Instead, Nelly comes out to confront her, asking what she wants. Kenturah dismissively replies that she is there to see the prince, not her. At that moment, Prince Ben appears and asks what's happening. Turning to Kentura, he firmly states, "If you've seen Nelly, you've seen me because she is my girlfriend." Heartbroken, Kentura walks away soberly. Surprised, Nelly asks Ben about his statement. Ben admits that he's been waiting for her to resolve things with her father before officially asking her to be his girlfriend. They laugh together, and the tension eases. Thank you for joining us for this amazing story. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you all in the next episode.